Imagine a legendary master looking his most devoted student in the eye and demanding the student's right thumb as payment. Now imagine the student drawing a blade, severing that thumb, and handing it over without a single word of protest. Drona served as the supreme commander of military arts for the Kuru dynasty. The royal family paid him to transform their princes into the world's most lethal weapons. Inside that elite, heavily guarded academy, Drona had a clear favorite, the young prince Arjuna. Drona poured every secret, every advanced technique, and every ounce of his energy into making sure Arjuna outclassed everyone else in the courtyard. But Drona went too far. Blinded by affection and royal ambition, he swore an absolute oath to Arjuna. He guaranteed that no other archer in the entire world would ever surpass him. That promise tied Drona's professional reputation directly to Arjuna's dominance. By guaranteeing the prince's status, Drona became a gatekeeper of royal power, obligated to suppress any talent that threatened the hierarchy he served. He was no longer a seeker of skill, but a defender of the royal family's monopoly on martial force. Miles away from the marble floors and gold-trimmed bows of the Royal Academy lived a boy named Ekalavya. He belonged to the Bhil tribe, a forest-dwelling community completely excluded from the aristocratic world. Ekalavya approached Drona with a simple request to learn the art of archery. Drona took one look at his tribal origins and refused him outright. The academy was strictly for royalty. Ekalavya didn't argue. He walked back into the deep woods, gathered mud from the earth, and built a crude clay idol of Drona. By acknowledging the clay statue as his absolute guru, Ekalavya created an internal, focused training environment. In his mind, he had the master's presence watching every shot, which allowed him to refine his technique without needing external validation or permission. For years, Ekalavya practiced in absolute isolation. He received no feedback, wore no royal armor, used no specialized targets. Just a boy, a homemade bow, and thousands of hours of relentless repetition in the shadows of the forest. Ekalavya bypassed the institutional barriers of the Royal Academy through sheer isolated practice. He demonstrated that supreme mastery flows from internal obsession, regardless of who holds the keys to the classroom. The collision between these two worlds happens over something entirely trivial. The Kuru princes are hunting in the woods when their tracking dog wanders off. The dog spots a strange man in the brush, Ekalavya, and starts barking wildly. Annoyed by the noise, Ekalavya spins and fires a rapid succession of arrows. He pins the dog's mouth shut without shedding a drop of blood. When Drona and Arjuna track the dog down, they freeze. This vector diagram shows exactly what they found: 7 distinct arrows converging perfectly to build a non-lethal cage around a moving target's jaw. Fired purely on sound, this requires an instant grasp of geometry, wind resistance, and spatial awareness far beyond anything Drona taught. Arjuna panics. He turns to his master, pointing at the dog, and reminds Drona of the ultimate vow. Arjuna was supposed to be the best in the world, yet here is proof that he has already been surpassed. Ekalavya's existence is a fatal system error for the Kuru dynasty. A marginalized outsider possesses a talent so pure, it invalidates the entire royal hierarchy. Drona tracks the trajectory of the arrows back to their source. When he steps into the clearing, he recognizes the young tribal boy he threw out years ago, now standing beside the clay idol. Drona sees his own statue and sets a chilling, legalistic trap. He asks Ekalavya, "Who is your teacher?" When the boy bows and says, "You are, my lord," Drona springs the trap. He invokes the ancient, sacred right to demand guru dakshina, the mandatory fee a student owes their master. Drona looks at the greatest archer alive and demands his right thumb. This skeletal breakdown of the hand shows exactly the violence of this request. The right thumb anchors the entire mechanical load of a heavy bowstring. Without it, the grip collapses. The kinetic chain is broken. You cannot hold tension. Ekalavya doesn't blink. He doesn't argue the unfairness of paying a teacher who never gave him a single lesson. He draws a blade, severs his own thumb instantly, and hands his unparalleled talent to the man who rejected him. Drona used the sacred legalism of the guru's fee to carry out a political assassination. By taking the boy's thumb, he neutralized a strategic rival to the Kuru throne and protected his own reputation. So we are left with the ultimate question: was this action actually nyaya? Was it justice? If you look at it strictly through the lens of state politics, Drona did exactly what he was hired to do. He kept his vow to the crown prince and neutralized an unaccounted military threat, preserving the power structure of Hastinapur. But the moral reality is far darker. He exploited a child's pure, unquestioning devotion to cover up his own limitations as a teacher and his arrogant promise to a prince. The legacy of that moment splits in two directions. Drona's name carries a permanent stain of elite cowardice. Meanwhile, Ekalavya achieves immortality. He adapts, learning to shoot with his index and middle fingers, standing forever as the ultimate symbol of the perfect disciple. With Ekalavya sidelined, the Kuru establishment believed their monopoly on power was secure. But the very system that prioritized bloodline over talent was already creating its own downfall. In the shadows of the very institution Drona sacrificed his honor to protect, another marginalized warrior is secretly ascending. And this one will not surrender his weapons so easily. Elite arrogance is about to face a reckoning, because Arjuna's true nightmare has already arrived. His name is Karna.